Modesty aside, I think that we have the most talented front office in the league. We've won the Commissioner Award for the best organization, and we're always the organization that when new teams come in, they'll come and visit with us and call us, and a lot of our materials are passed on throughout the league and utilized. But it's really because we have such a tremendous staff.
American football is a game of inches, and American indoor football, the Arena Football League, is no exception. But it might be better to say that football is a game of numbers. A bunch of guys with numbers on their backs, weighing in at some heavy numbers, fight to put the biggest numbers on the board by the end of the game, and to rack up the best numbers by the end of the season. But one of the great joys of sports is that despite the numbers, nearly anything can happen. Take the Chicago Rush, the Windy City's Arena Football League team. Back in 2006, after finishing the regular season with a mediocre 7-9 record, the Rush barely earned a wild card spot in the playoffs. But heart, tenacity, and lots of great numbers drove them to beat all comers and win the league championship. For a team that never even made it to the final game in its 6-year history, that's pretty impressive performance. And you can bet that the title is having a very serious impact on a very different set of numbers, the Chicago Rush's bottom line. Like any other business, sports runs on profits, and an Arena Bowl World Championship can be expected to improve attendance, gate receipts, concession revenue, merchandising, and every other aspect of business.
Chicago loves champions. That's one thing that we know for sure, and anecdotally, some of the business stories have been very positive for us. Email conversations, phone conversations with clients and corporations that in the past 5 years had been a little less than enthusiastic about partnering with us now are taking meetings very quickly.
Chicago is a prolific sports city with 16 professional sports teams, including 2 professional baseball teams, which is very rare. But that means fierce competition, and although Arena Football started in 1987 and is the second longest tenured professional football league in history behind the NFL, it has only recently gained the popularity that it deserves. From a financial perspective, teams like the Rush are major investments that may not produce huge profits for years or even decades.
I think the biggest financial challenge was the shock of the reality of this market. You go into a secondary or tertiary market across the country and you take out a full-page ad in the newspaper, and that same day you make your entire year's ticket revenue and surpass the ROI by 10 to 1. In Chicago, the first time we took out a full-page ad, which costs 10 times more than it does in the small markets, we received a blip. So we've had to dig our heels in and carve out a niche and figure out a way to make a name for ourselves in the marketplace, and it has taken some time.
As Arena Football, a game of faster play, higher scoring, and more dramatic turnarounds, gains more popularity and a larger audience, it also gains more revenue, which enables it to reinvest profits and expand its marketing. Keeping a measure of how well the business is doing falls to the Rush's business manager, Maggie Worth, and the team's accountants based in California.
Transactions I track mainly are revenue in, payments for vendors for various items for all of the operation. I also take care of payroll transmittal for the employees, both the team and the front office. Provide financials to the accountants that are in charge of the business in California, and provide expenditures and reports from Mike and the department heads for their year-to-date spending.
Like any business person, Maggie uses the 6-step accounting process to handle Rush finances. First, she collects all of the receipts for the transactions of the business for a specific period. Next, a bookkeeper records all of these transactions into journals. Now she categorizes the data into accounts and enters into a general ledger. At this point, she can calculate a trial balance just to make sure the books add up. Now, the basic financial statements can be created. These include the balance sheets, income statements, and statements of cash flow. The balance sheet tells Maggie how the business is doing overall.
A balance sheet is a report that lists the assets for the company, the liabilities for the company, and the owner's equity for the company. So it gives somebody a good idea of the value of the company.
The income statement shows the Rush's revenue, costs, and expenses for the year.
The income statement for this year, every year it gets better. The income statement shows the revenue for a period of time minus the expenses for a period of time, and it gives you a bottom line profit. So, or loss, however it looks.
Finally, Maggie generates a statement of cash flow to make sure that cash that could be working for the Rush isn't sidelined by bottlenecks.
Here we don't do a traditional statement of cash flows. We kind of do a cash flow statement based on budget, meaning we take estimated revenue and estimated expenses and we figure out what our cash needs are from that. A true cash flow statement would be run by actual numbers.
To take a pulse of the organization, the Chicago Rush management uses all of this financial data to make predictions, just as if they were sizing up an opposing team for an upcoming game. In the sixth step of the accounting process, analyzing data, they employ ratio analysis to find vulnerabilities and opportunities that they can address. The liquidity ratio earmarks assets that can be turned quickly into cash to pay debts. The leverage ratio shows how much debt the organization is carrying. And the most important, the profitability ratio, reveals how well their investment is producing revenue. It all helps them to grow the business at a steady and healthy pace.
In particular, in the 2006 season, we did a lot of the hard work before the season ever began to generate the additional revenues, because we had a pretty tough year on the field. For the first 14 weeks, we were 5-9. So our ticket account executives and our group business and our corporate people did a wonderful job of nurturing business over the last couple of years, and it all played out very well for us in 2006. It was our best year by far.
When Jim Forrester first created the idea of arena football, it may have seemed a strange thing. Imagine baseball, played by six-man teams for 7 one-out innings on a triangle of 3 bases where the batter can never strike out. Well, Jim's innovation proved not only catchy, but so unique that arena football is the only professional sport that is patented by its creator. While some purists objected to the sport, its fast action and high scores filled the first half of every year with brisk new possibilities for fans missing their main game of traditional American football.
Our game is different, and it's not fair to draw comparisons between the National Football League game and the Arena League game. We play 8-on-8, we have a 50-yard field, the nets are in play, different rules, different type of athletes, completely different game. The only similarities, which I think are enticing to the traditional football fan, is that they're great athletes, they have to catch the ball, they have to run with the ball, they have to score touchdowns, they have to hit people awfully hard. And if you give it a shot, you'll love it.
The vitality of the sport is reflected by increasing interest and revenue at the gate.
I think the Arena Football League nationally is considered to be the quickest growing and fastest growing sport around. I mean, most others are stagnant, but we continue to expand every single year into different prominent marketplaces. The ownership is growing by leaps and bounds with very significant ownership. I think there are 7 or 8 NFL owners who now own AFL teams.
Great players, vigorous rivalries, and of course a world championship increase the odds of success immensely. With new interest comes new revenue, and with new revenue, new merchandising and marketing opportunities.
Well, right now, there aren't too many profits to reinvest into our organization, but as far as merchandise sales have never been higher. People have been clamoring to get the hats and the shirts that they saw the players wearing on the field, so that's been a nice perk.
Chicago has had its share of misfires in sports, however, including minor league baseball teams, alternate hockey leagues, and the original Chicago arena football team, the Bruisers. Chicago was even home to a world championship soccer team, the Sting, who played in the very stadium that the Rush now calls home. Some of these teams suffered from bad marketing, but some failed to survive due to poor accounting and financial practices. The Arena Football League is determined not to make the same mistake as they look to a very bright future, one that depends on all aspects of the business working together as a team.
You know, ESPN, the magazine, 2 years ago wrote a story about the Arena Football League becoming the 5th major sport. It would be nice if we could expedite the growth a little bit more on a national basis as well as a local basis, but because of the continued increase of every business facet over these last 5 and 6 seasons, I am very optimistic about our future.